does.
It looks like a farmer does.
It totally does.
But we mostly just raise, we're noted for our Hayman potatoes, which you've seen Hayman potatoes before. They're a white potato. They're not a sweet potato. Everybody calls them a sweet potato, but they're not. A sweet potato will actually bloom. They're a member of the morning glory family, and a Hayman is not. A Hayman was originally brought in here. I think it's from down around Argentina or somewhere like that. And it's a couple of different stories, but the main one I think is they went to. This is not a very pretty Hayman. They were supposed to be almost all the way white, but I don't have much left because we've done planted everything now. And they were shipped to. It was like a slave ship, a spice ship, and all kinds, going up to Jersey, and it poured it there. And a man named, he was a preacher by the name of Hayman, and he bought what they had. And this is the original. This potato here probably dates back about 300-400 years, and it's called the thin skin Jersey, which as far as we know is the original Hayman that came. They've been played with and modified and everything, and they have what they call the old Henry, which is a sweet potato, but it cooks like a Hayman. It's white. When it cooks, it turns just as green as this. And of course, now what we do is this is regular sweet potato. You see them everywhere. They're orange. You break them in half, and they're orange. And what we do, it's one of them things. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? So I'm going to start with the seed, which is the little potato like this. Are these, and we store them in a cellar all winter long, and then in the spring they start putting out. They're not like an osh potato. I guess you know how osh potatoes planted. They cut them up in cubes and they're dropped in the ground. It's just nowhere. These you plant in the soil, and then when these get so high, you rip these off, and you go out on a transplanter and set them in the ground. Now, if we come over here a minute, so here we are. Now this is my grandfather, going back 2-3 generations. But here's the potato bed where we take these potatoes here, and we have the bed there, which I'll show you, and they're planted in the ground, laid side by side, and then they're covered up with dirt, and then we put frames on them to heat them up and make them grow faster. We don't have to do that now because I'm only growing a small amount. But my grandfather, he grew probably 30 or 40 acres, which is a lot when it comes to sweet potato. 2 acres is a plenty for me, so that's about what I do. So after they're planted in here, they grow up like this, and then we go back into bed, and here's the plants that we would normally rip out of the bed. They're put on the transplanter here, and then we hook up to the old tractor, which is Granddad again, and they're dropped. Now, when they're dropped, just giving you an idea of how it's done, and then I'll show you some of the. When they're dropped, now we're moving up in history now. This is my generation. This is my wife and my daughter, and this is the back of the transplanter, and I'll show you, but it's going to be hard to see because it's back in the garage, in the barn. There's like 2 little plows here. And we have the water tanks up here. So the water tanks are up here, and it drops water down the plow. They take the plants individually and set them in the ground, and it goes down. And as you move them around, the plow covers them back up with the water. And there's the back of it. And you can see where it's hard to see the plants, but that's where the plants are there. And let's see what we got here.
How many people do you need to do that?
Well, you can't find anybody anymore that wants to work. See, there's my guard dog.
Right.
She's working hard there. She lays out there in the sun, and of course she likes people, and it's just. But anyway, that gives you an idea, and we'll go out there if you want to, and we'll. It's not a whole lot to do. This is this is one of our storage buildings here that we use to keep the potatoes. Now this part was a workshop, but this is Dad coming up on an old formal, and that's one digging there. They're Hayman potatoes. As you can see, they're white. And at one time we would have this old building full of potatoes, and that house over here was my grandfather's house, and the bottom of it is a cellar, and we would have that packed full of potatoes, and then we would store our seed down there for the wintertime, because it would be enough heat down there to keep them from, going bad. And well, we'll go outside and.
Cookie. Yeah, we're just asking us to.
Yeah. You staying here, so you want to go ahead and look at the equipment now, or?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Like I say, I mean, we just got a bunch of old equipment. I got over to my other place. I have, a few more tractors and stuff, but we just use little stuff there. And there's the next generation, I guess, if he'll work. That's my great-grandson. But anyway, we just use old tractors and stuff. This one here, my grandfather bought back in the early 60s. And that one's got a cultivator. I don't know if you can see it or not behind it. Right now we're just going through the land. We don't do any herbicides or pesticides, anything like that. So we're continuously working the soil up, trying to get rid of any of the seeds that are coming up there, weeds and grass, stuff like that. And I'll keep doing that until next month, until we're ready to plant. Okay, and let's see.
Can I ask you a follow-up on that? What are some of the big changes that you've seen on the Eastern Shore when it comes to potato farming? We just talked about them inside, but we weren't on record.
Yeah. Well, I don't quite, it's dying out, if that's what you mean. Sweet potato farming is one of the things that are, every day you'll hear somebody will say, John Doe down the road passed away, and they're coming to me and they're wanting to know if I will sell them some Hayman potatoes, because sweet potatoes you can pretty well buy anywhere because they're up and down the market. But the Haymans is what's becoming scarce, and they're hard to grow. A sweet potato on an average row that I plant, if to get decent rain and everything, I'll get maybe 20-some bushels to a row. But when I come to do the Haymans, I'll be lucky to get maybe 7 or 8 that just don't produce as well. But though again, with the high prices of gasoline that our political people have forced on us, we won't get into politics, but with the gasoline being high and fertilizer and being able to find somebody to come and dig and work, it's very, very, people just can't afford growing, That's what it is in a nutshell. And it's like fertilizer. 4 years ago, I was paying about, I think it was like $300 and some a ton. Now it's over $800 a ton. And as you can see, gasoline prices, same way on the farmer, hurts them even worse. We 3 years ago, we were paying $2 and something. Here it is, hitting records highs again. And diesel fuel is even worse. It used to be years ago, if you had diesel fuel, it was the cheapest thing you could buy. Now it's the highest thing you can buy. And we have a couple of diesel tractors that, you need it for plowing and the heavier work. So all in all, it just costs so much. And when I first started, when Dad got down, I was taking it over. We were getting, I think it was like $50 a bushel for Hayman potatoes. Last year I was getting 125, and I was making less at the 125 than I did when Dad was alive about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, at $50-some, and making less. So and basically I'm just looking not to lose money. It's a family tradition, so trying to keep it going. And anyway, we're going to walk. we'll do a walkabout. Isn't that what they're saying? Australia, some kind of a walkabout or something.
Do you all have other traditions around the potatoes? Like, for example, around harvest season or around cooking them? Anything like that?
Yeah, everybody's got their... Now this is I'm going to jump a subject here for a minute. This is a pitiful looking bed, okay? Because I had figured to just give it up. So it's normally would look a lot better than what it does. But we used to have 5 beds here. 3 of them went from here all the way down past those cars. 2 was over here. And as you can see, I only got a few planted in here. And these are old frames, old beds, but they're buried in the dirt. It's tilled up in the bed. We lay them down in there, and then we dig up the fresh dirt over on that side and cover them up. And then we lay some frames on to heat them up. And to heat them up will bring them quicker. Like I said before, we don't really need the frames right now because we don't plant that many, you know. And we'll go look at the transplanter if you like.
Yeah. So has the technology for planting changed?
No, well, see, sweet potatoes, they're dig them in some places like they do Irish potatoes. They got diggers, so they don't need really the manual labor to dig them. But the trouble is with the Hayman potatoes, you have to handle them with gloves. They're bruise easy, and they stick to you like glue if you don't wear gloves. There's so much syrup and milk that runs out of them. It looks just like milk, you know, when you pull them off a vine, it just oozes right out of them, and it's real tacky. And but around here, it used to be years ago, there wasn't much work to do. It was all agriculture. And thank goodness, I guess, for Tyson and the chicken plants, it gives people other jobs, because if it wasn't for that here on the shore, there wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be enough jobs to suffice everybody.
Who do you remember working for your dad and for your grandfather?
Well, Mom, that's what I said. I wish she was still alive there, because she could really fill you in. But, you know, here on the shore, I don't know how other people live, but it doesn't matter if you're black, white, or brown. We all got out in the field, and Mom said the black people would get out there and sing, and it was him singing all day long in the fields while they were digging potatoes. And it was like having church when you're digging potatoes. We all got along, had good fun. And I guess if you know where you say, well, everybody knew everybody, you were all family, no matter what your race was. You all got out there and worked and got your fingers dirty. And you don't see that in a lot of areas, you know.
Do you remember where folks were coming from who used to come out and work on the farm?
Oh yeah, they were all local. I mean, you know, I don't want to say too much, but the early days, some of them were, I don't think they were slaves, but they were, you know, in my grandfather's day, white people did have it a little bit better. You know, the blacks nobody wanted to harm or anything like that. And Granddad had hazes. This was all Groton land all the way up down there, of course, he's gone now. But he had little shacks where they were all live. And for them living on his land, they would in turn help him dig his potatoes, you know. So he provided them a home and all, and they would come. And then later on in years, it was different ones that just needed money and there weren't no jobs. And they would come, you know, local ones around, down around the corner, they would walk. Because back then, one family was lucky to have a car. You know, I mean, everybody's got 3 or 4 cars now, and they take off, go to, you know, an hour or two away, go shopping. But back then, if you had a car, you were afraid to drive it too far because it'd break down on you. But most of them were local, and they come walking through down the road and do the fields. And like I say, all that over there, as far as you can see over to the woods, was all Hayman and sweet potatoes. And up farther that way. And that little place I got plowed right there now, that's all I'll plant. That's not quite 2 acres. And I don't know if you can see, this thing goes back. My great-grandfather built it. It was pulled by a horse. Granddad took it and modified it, worked with a tractor and put tanks on there. But this is the transplanter, and I don't. Have you got a light? I can turn my cell phone on. We put it away. It stays put away. It only gets used. Only gets used a couple of days out of a year, and that's it. But I'll turn my light on, and
Here's a.
Yeah. Here's your tanks here, which hold your water, and the water would come down the hose there, and there's your plow. See your little plow there, down here, right there on the bottom. It got 2 things comes out and covers it back up, and this is your lever, raise it and lower it, depends on how big you want. The person that's dropping would sit on this seat or that seat over there, and as you're going down the field, they drop the plants right down in here, and then that would cover them up in the back, and then hopefully, if the Lord's willing and we got rain, you had taters, and if it wasn't willing, you didn't have taters. So far, we got taters. May not have been a lot of them, but a few. But I don't know if that gives you and then we set our baskets, a couple of baskets down here, so when they're back here, if they run out going down the field, they could grab some to keep them going. Then we get down in the field, all this would be covered up here with, more plants. It's not very, I should have pulled it out so you could get a better look. Too many things going on. But originally it was made for, like I say, it was made for horses pulling it, and Granddad, rigged it up to pull with a tractor, and next thing you know, needed water, so he built this on there for water. But a lot of people that would put out sweet potato, they would actually ride on a tomato transplanter, and tomato transplanter would hook up backwards on a tractor, and it's just like you were sitting in the seat looking backwards. The tractor would be going that way, and you'd be facing that way, and you'd be dropping your. And then automation come along, and they had a little clicker, and the thing would. It would click, and that would let you know when to drop the plant down, so that you had them at an even space in between each other. But when we're going out there sweet potato, I go as slow as I can, and I tell them, put them down there as fast as you can, because when you're doing organic, basically no pesticides, no herbicides, you want them as close as you can, so that once the potato starts growing, they run everywhere. Sweet potato plant, it's not just a stem comes up, they got runners everywhere. And once you can get them activated, they'll control the grass. They'll actually smother the grass out. So if you don't have a good spring and get them going, you're in trouble. And it's been a couple of years I've been in trouble.
Do you remember really good years and really bad years?
Oh yeah. I had one good year. In fact, I change every 3 or 4 years to move to a different part of the farm. And I had just come here, and Mom said, "What are you going there for?" I said, "Well, Mom, see, our farm is tiled. It's made to drain off if it gets too much rain. This part is not tiled." She said, "You don't want to go there." I said, "Yeah, Mom, I think I will." And she was right. I had some of the prettiest potatoes I had ever seen in my life. And just about time, it was time to start digging, we started having one hurricane right after the other. We must have had 10 inches, 12 inches of rain within 4 weeks. And every one of those potatoes swelled up just like a swelling toad, and they just rotted. That was bad. But, it looked good for a while, but...
What year was that?
Oh my gosh, that's been... let's see, how long Dad's been dead? Bill 750. That's probably been about 12 years ago, I guess now. Maybe close to 15. I can't quite remember. But that was a bad year. And then last year was a fair year. But all the years before that, the last 2 or 3 years, has been awfully dry. So the rows that I told you earlier, we would normally get 22 bushels of sweets to a row. Going back 2 or 3 years when the dry spells, I was lucky to get maybe 8 or 9 to a row. And my Haymans, I was lucky to get 3. And it's been very dry for that. And but up until the last few years, it's been, you know, pretty decent. All I can handle, I plant enough that I know if I can't get help, I can get out there and do it myself. And that's the way I look at it. I don't depend on nobody. Somebody shows up. Well, one year I had a great crop. I'd never seen so many potatoes. I planted 5 acres shortly after Dad died. Had potatoes everywhere. And I said, Lord have mercy, what am I going to do? And of course, I couldn't get no help. I had one guy come, and I had plowed potatoes out for him. And he said, well, he come there and started digging. He said, oh, my old boss called me. He wants me to come and work. So I had plowed out potatoes. Hey, Evie. I had plowed out potatoes for him, and he left me short-handed. And it seemed like, Lord, what am I going to do? Well, I've been lucky. I think Lord's looked out for me. I don't know if you're religious or not, but karma comes to you. And here come this big truck. It was a bunch of, well, we call them migrants, but they were Mexicans that they were doing work somewhere else, and they had run out of work. And they stopped there and wanted to know if I had work for them. We dug them potatoes. I think about 3 days would take me about 3 weeks. I was running short on baskets. I had to go down here to a fella that raised potatoes, buy baskets from him, just so I could have them to put in. And a lot of them, I was taking them, bringing them back, and dumping them on the ground, going back. But it's funny how things like that work out. I had not too long ago, I had an operation on my foot, and I had plowed out potatoes. And I told the doc, I said, Doc, am I going to be able to go down the field? He said, well, you think you can handle it? Well, I went down the field, and I got about halfway down there, and I figured that I couldn't handle it. It was too much on me. Here come a fella from up Salisbury. He sells fish, and he buys potatoes from me, sells with his fish. And he said, George, you look like you're in a jam. I said, I am. He says, how about if I help you dig your potatoes? So every time I've been in the jam, somebody's looked out for me. Good Lord, Grandpa, I don't know. But so, you know, you have good year, you have bad year, and, you know, sometimes you have intermediate year. But it all boils down to anymore that, and I'm probably not really qualified to be, you know, one to be talking to, because I'm just a little teeny guy. There's other farmers that are big, but we're all hurting from the increase of everything. It's just ridiculous, and it's just got to a point that they're doing it the old-fashioned way, like we are. It's the only way you can do a Hayman potato, and it's so much involved in doing it, it's not worth it. You know, it's just, I mean, when I'm selling a bushel of potatoes, and somebody comes up here, how much you Haymans? And I said, well, they're $100 and some. That's a lot of money for a bushel of potatoes. I would never pay it. But, you know, they're hard to find, and people want them, and, you know, they're paying them. It's just like, we'll jump off the subject here for a minute, but I trap in the wintertime, help make means up. And I mostly trap muskrats. And they're around here, everybody loves them to death. They're good eating. And a lot of the older guys is just give it up. and it costs so much to go down and get them and to bring them back. It used to be, and I'll probably make somebody mad because I'm talking about furs and stuff like this, but I used to take my furs up to New Jersey, and I could get maybe $5, $6 for a fur, which is pretty good. I have gotten as much as $16 for a fur. Well, when you get money like that, you can sell your meats cheap. But now, because you can't get anything for your furs, you have to make it up on your meats. This year I was selling my meats up to $7 for one muskrat. I would never pay that. But you can't find them. So people, you know, but you need that $6 or $7 for your meat to offset what you're not getting for the fur. And you know, I don't know how people do it anymore. I don't. When I was in the oil business, like I told you before, I sold out about 20 some years ago. And with my money, I bought 6 or 7 properties, rental properties. Back then, going back almost 20 years, I had a house. I had a couple of houses that were going for around $500-600 a month. I had 4 or 5 trailers. They were going roughly around. I had one that was going for $285 a month, and the other one for $300, $400. And 20 years has passed, and you know what they're paying today? The same amount that I did 20 years ago. I mean, people just can't afford it. I mean, you look around, and of course we're getting away from farming, but you look what it would cost to rent a house around here, you can't find nothing over $900 to $1,200, $1,300. And most people around here, they're either, if I can find help, helping me dig in the dirt, or they're working at Tyson and Holly Farm or Purdue or whatever you want to call them. And, you know, and that's a fixed income. It's not, you know, I don't know how to, if you're on Chincoteague or you're on Bayside and you've got waterfront property, you're in good shape, you know. But if you're in the middle of the shore here and you're dependent on farmer, the best thing I can tell you, honey, is get out of it and find you something good, because you're not going to make it. But and like I say, I don't have to do it. I do it because of how the family has done it all these years. And like I said, I was quitting this fall. And Will, was it Will you talked to? Will he's related to, he's a cousin of mine. And he said, George, what are we going to do? He said, you can't find them no more. I said, well, I'm not going to do it anymore. And just so many people have said it. I said, well, I didn't seed back the seed that I normally do. That bed's usually full. And I said, I seed back a few seed. I thought maybe my brother or somebody might be wanting to do it. And I said, but so many people come in here and beg me. I said, I ain't got no more sense but to try it another year. So that's where we're at today. Questions?
Oh, I have lots, but I'm wondering if it makes sense for us to go inside away from the vehicles.
Yeah, well, that's
and just take a seat in that way.
Well, that's something where I live now. I got a farm over there. It's a hay farm. We have horses and stuff like that. And you don't see a car, maybe 3 a day, that's it. But now that they got the schoolway here, you know, it keeps it busy. We have a development over here, and there's chicken houses all around us. And if it's not cars, it's trucks. And when I was staying with Mom at nights, I never realized it, but those trucks would go up and down here, and the daggone house would shake. I guess you get used to it after a while, but you know, a lot of these houses are jammed right up to the road. Okay, we're going inside for a minute.
Do you mind if I sit? Do you mind if we sit?
No, that's, you know, we still use the house. It's about 40 of us in the family. And we get that dining room table, we put a table up there, and of course we got this one here, a table back there, and we got one out there, and we all bring something to eat, and well, you can hear some tales in.